On this episode of China Uncensored, China's shocking military secret. Hi, welcome to China Uncensored. I'm your host, Chris Chappell. Big news coming out recently, and it's upset a lot of people.
Great Britain is breaking apart from the European Union.
No, it's more upsetting than that.
A shambolic performance by the national team. 2-1 loss to Iceland last night will go down as the worst moment in England's football history.
Well, that's not what I was thinking either. Yes, China is killing millions of innocent meditators for their organs, which is what a lot of people might call genocide. This comes after this incredibly detailed 680-page report revealed that as many as 1.5 million innocent people in China have been murdered for their organs. And I'm not talking about this being done by some underground gangs or criminal networks. I'm talking about official hospitals, including hospitals run by the Chinese military, like this one, the 301 Military Hospital in Beijing. It's a place where a lot of high-ranking Communist Party members get treated. The Chinese military is killing Chinese citizens for their organs on a massive scale. And across China, other hospitals have been following their example.
The Chinese regime not only deprives its people of their basic rights on a daily basis, but literally steals their body parts for a profit.
Because there's nothing more valuable than a human life. Now, you'd think this discovery should be making major international headlines, and to a degree, that's happened. The problem is that news, like comedy, is all about timing. And the timing for this wasn't the greatest. Hashtag Brexit. But this story is still huge, and the long-term implications haven't even begun to set in. Eventually, I think it's going to mean more countries will go from attitudes like this.
I think this is going to be a very important moment for British-Chinese relations, which are in a very good state, something of a golden era in our relationship.
To attitudes like this.
We recommend that there is an international investigation into forced organ harvesting in China, and we ask the British government to take a lead on this.
Because it's hard to have a golden era with a regime that's currently committing crimes against humanity. I mean, once enough people know about it. So, here's what people ought to know about it. In most of the world, it takes months or years to get an organ transplant. But in China, it's so easy. Patients typically must wait only a few weeks for a donor organ. And they somehow perform a crazy number of organ transplants there. Officials say there's a total of 10,000 organ transplants a year in China. But this report finds that there are, in fact, mega hospitals across the country, each with thousands of beds performing thousands of transplants. So many that, according to the report, many surgeons have simply lost count of how many they've performed. Using data gathered from Chinese media reports and the websites of individual hospitals, the report goes on to estimate that between 60 to 100,000 political prisoners are killed every year to supply China's hospitals with fresh organs. By contrast, the total number of transplants in the US in most years is less than 30,000. Of course, this raises the question, if the Chinese Communist Party is killing all of these people for their organs, where are these people coming from? Wouldn't you know, people in China start to question so many disappearances? Well, not if the party convinces you that a certain group of people aren't really people and can be treated however they want. Is there any group in China like that? Falun Gong practitioners, the people who are thrown into labor camps for doing this. That's where the vast majority of the organs are coming from, according to Bloody Harvest. The report also says that other organ donors include Tibetans, Uyghurs, and House Christians. Note that one of the report's authors is David Kilgour, who's Canada's former Secretary of State for Asia Pacific. Bloody Harvest goes into detail about the evidence behind their claim that Falun Gong practitioners make up the majority of organ harvesting victims. Like how undercover investigators called dozens of Chinese hospitals asking for those healthy Falun Gong organs, And the doctors even boasted about it. For example,
我跟你讲，你这个干预的是可以的。
那我就问啊，等要等多久？
工体有啊，天天有哎。
现在
我们今天也做。
不是，你现在又不是说是有新鲜的，有活的人的，你这个
都是活的。
啊？
都是活的。看看我们这是最好的。
yes, for the best live organs, visit Jiaotong University-affiliated hospital.
那你们这个做了多久了？我就想问一下你们这个技术。
我们做了5、6年了，做4、5年、5、6年了。
那一个月能做多少
？4、5万1个月。
4、500啊？
对。
Now, the day after the Bloody Harvest report was released, a reporter in Beijing asked Chinese Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Hua Chunying about it. Unsurprisingly, her response was that such stories about forced organ harvesting in China are imaginary and baseless. They don't have any factual foundation. Which I can only assume means she didn't read the 680-page report, the last 230 pages of which are all filled with all of their references because, man, there's a lot of facts. But China's foreign ministry had a better solution than addressing the facts. It simply removed the reporter's question and her answer from that day's official press conference transcript. Now no one will know. Now, although the update to the Bloody Harvest report just came out a couple of weeks ago, this story has been out for much longer. The first press conference about it was 10 years ago. And here's someone you may know reporting on it in 2011, back when people still watched news on television.
An investigation has raised the issue that some Chinese organs may have been taken from prisoners of conscience.
But like Leonardo DiCaprio, the organ harvesting story has taken a long time to finally get the recognition it deserves. In fact, the U.S. House of Representatives passed a resolution on June 13th this year condemning China's wide-scale murder of Falun Gong practitioners for their organs. Now that is shocking. Democrats and Republicans actually agreed on something. But the biggest shock may come from inside China. Because now that this news is getting more and more attention, Chinese authorities will have to do more to address it than simply deleting all mentions of it from the Foreign Ministry website. And there's some evidence that Chinese leader Xi Jinping is already taking steps to address it. But of course in a very roundabout way. As I've mentioned before, Xi Jinping's so-called anti-corruption campaign is really aimed at taking down his political enemies. One of his enemies is former Chinese leader Jiang Zemin. He's the guy who originally orchestrated the entire persecution of Falun Gong. And he's been controlling the military from behind the scenes even after he stepped down in 2003. Well, just a few days before the congressional resolution passed, Jiang Zemin was allegedly taken into custody by Chinese paramilitary troops, according to the Epoch Times. So if the head guy responsible for organ harvesting from Falun Gong practitioners gets taken down, does that mean Xi Jinping can make it stop? And will he? Perhaps we can gently nudge him towards the right move, with a tremendous amount of international pressure. One thing you can do is sign this petition calling for the UN to push China to stop killing people for their organs. The link is down below. And like I said, more people need to know about this. So share this video with at least 3 people you know. And then they can share it with 3 people, who can share it with 3 people. And pretty soon the whole world will see this video. That's how YouTube works, right? Thanks for watching this episode of China Uncensored. If you want to see the full Bloody Harvest report, the link is down below. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time. So, what is Falun Gong? Why, just the gravest threat facing China. Look at them there, standing still, or here, sitting still. Can't someone do something about this menace?